Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Mr. Blue podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Blu-ray, and I want to, as usual, of course, like stay consistent on these episodes of the podcast. Just gotta find something interesting, right? Um, I have talked about this briefly since I gotten back into this specific franchise in a long time, right? So, like, you know what? I want to talk about two different franchises, like compare them, and um like ask you guys how you feel about these movies specifically, right? Like, and I know I'm not the only one who thinks this. Like, there was a video I watched where this one guy compared this one franchise to another. So, yep. Today I'm going to be talking about slash comparing the X-Men slash Foxmen movies to the Transformers movies, right? Oh man, like it didn't hit me until maybe like the last night because obviously with each Transformers film, I was lowering my expectations, like especially during the Michael Bay era, cuz you never know what's going to happen other than like predictable stuff, right? Um yeah, like I said, Transformers, like the first five movies, they felt a lot like X-Men, the original trilogy, where they start off okay slash mediocre, and of course, like with both franchises, you're gonna have like some of the best movies in there, right? To me personally, I still consider the first X-Men to be the only good one in the original trilogy. X2 and 3, like, nah, I still understand why X2 gets a lot of praise for a sequel like that, like. X3, it is a better film than the next two. And I recently watched Superman Returns, right? And like with that and X3 coming out the same time, like yeah. Um they should have just kept I apologize if I don't remember his name, like, Cyclops, right? They should have kept him for X3. But they killed him off early on in X3, so like, I mean, hey, it's whatever. But I'm sure he'll make a comeback in the next two Avengers movies, right? So like, just give him justice, right? Um. So when I went into Bumblebee, I think this is where this one person said it in this one video again. Like, I don't remember specifically, but I totally agree with him what he said. Like, Bumblebee felt a lot like X-Men First Class. It was like a kind of like a new fresh take on the franchise, right? Like I believe it's still in the same universe, but there's like they do contradict like the stories here, like and they've been on Earth for some time, like um since the 80s and 90s from what I remember, from like specifically Bumblebee and a little bit of Rise of the Beasts, right? Like yeah, like again, it's a lot like the X-Men franchise too. Like, sure, like the prequels were a whole new take, but like they kind of like, well, they do contradict the canon status of those movies, right? Like, um, with X-Men Days of Future Past, right? Like, of course they had to change history, right? Like, because if they didn't, history would still remain the same, right? So that's why we have films like Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, right? Um, yeah, give me 1 second. To me, like X-Men Origins Wolverine is kind of it's like it's in the middle of like both like not franchises but like the original trilogy and going on with First Class, like going forward, right? Like um sure, it is a prequel to the originals. We understand that, right? Um but it it has like no par with like the prequels, right? Or they call it the Beginnings trilogy. Um, I don't know. Like, do you think maybe there could have been a Transformers spinoff like that? Can be like X-Men Origins, right? Like it could be like in the middle between like the Bay movies and like the prequel movies, right? Like I don't know, like I don't know. I'm trying to catch up with some of these Autobots names. Like obviously the only two that I care is Optimus Prime and Bumblebee because they're literally the highlights of the franchise, right? Just like how Hugh Jackman was the highlight of the X-Men franchise, right? But who is really the center of it all? Honestly, the second center of it all of the franchise, and it's the original trilogy of Transformers, Shia LaBeouf. Yes, like he was definitely iconic in there, and of course, like just like with other people, like I would want him to come back for potentially Transformers 8. What is it called? Like uh, Rise of Unicron or the Battle of Unicron, right? I still don't like it how in the Transformers lore in general they call Earth Unicron. Like, oh, you mean unicorn? Huh? How original is that, right? um, yeah, they need to have like a good explanation to why Earth is called Unicron because it still makes no sense whatsoever. Um, and again, going on to the prequel movies and Transformers, like Bumblebee was definitely a good start. Like, yeah, it was definitely the first class of the franchise, right? Again, a whole new take. And of course, since I'm comparing two franchises, Bumblebee is definitely better than First Class, right? And I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but since like the first five Michael Bay movies, right? Like, they're 2.5 hours long or plus, and it feels like there are like two movies for the first five, right? Like I felt like I was done watching one movie, then I was watching another one. Right? And number five is the longest in the franchise, right? Like, it felt like again I was watching like two completely like different movies, right? And honestly, some of these movies like had no right to be 2.5 hours. I thought the first wasn't the first Transformers like an hour and a half. I don't know. It's been a month since I watched the first one, and it's still phenomenal to this day. Like, I compare it to like the Iron Man 1 of this franchise, even though the Transformers franchise came out first before Marvel Studios came out, right? So yeah, like I'm pretty sure this was unintentional on Michael Bay's part, like and his team. Like I'm pretty sure Michael Bay, like when he was writing the movies, he wasn't thinking like, oh, this is gonna be like the X-Men movies, right? Like no, I mean, it'd be pretty cool if he gave like a proper explanation. Like, there's got to be an interview out there. Like, so, like, listen, Michael Bay, are you intentionally making the Transformers movies like the X-Men movies, right? Like, you got off to like kind of a bad start, and then you're like, reshaping, repurposing the franchise, right? Like, because I have no idea what's in store for the Transformers franchise. I don't catch up a lot with that. Well, again, with the potential, Transformers 8, Rise of Unicron, right? Like, I want Shia LaBeouf to come back. Like, I think Michael Bay is planning. I think that could be like the last film he'll direct, and it's part of his saga, like his 6-part saga, right? Yeah, they're definitely planning on bringing like Shia LaBeouf and Mark Wahlberg's characters together to unite, right? Like, because you guys gotta remember when it came to Transformers 4, Shia LaBeouf was gonna be recasted to a different character just because, like, after 3, he did not want to be part of the franchise anymore. He did not want to be known as like the guy in Transformers, right? Like, trying to put together like what he said in interviews, right? But like, since he's come back like as a changed man because he's been a meme for probably a bigger part of the decade, and he's been kind of quiet, like he's definitely a new man. I feel like he would want to come back, to finish off his character. Like, I'm pretty sure he would have no problem, like, hey, like, he'd be like, listen, Michael Bay, like, I don't mind if you call off my character, like, that character's sentimental to me, like, I don't want to be part of this franchise anymore. I'll do this last movie, just kill me off, okay? Because even in The Last Night, they somewhat suggested that his character was quote-unquote killed. Like, I don't believe that because, obviously I'm on the same boat with everybody. If you want to finish a character's story arc, give them a reason why they haven't shown up, or, like, why, they wanted this, deserved death, right? Like, and I believe that, and of course, I believe Megan Fox will be up to coming back. Like, she's I was about to say part of ways. No. She has settled things with Michael. I still don't believe that man has changed his ways, though. Like, dude, like, you gotta respect women no matter what, I mean, just hearing these reports, like, they're gonna bring, like, Shia and Mark together, like, I heard this one report from the Jason Bourne franchise, right? Just a little, like, side tangent here. Like, they're gonna bring both, like, Matt Damon and Jeremy Renner's character into one movie. Like, I knew, like, after watching the Jason Bourne movie, like, I knew that wasn't gonna be the last one. I think the truly last one will come out is with that crossover, right? So yeah, just make Transformers 8, make it the last of the Bay saga, right? The 6-film saga, and just continue on with the prequels, right? Like, and honestly though, what can you do after, like, again, hypothetically speaking, what can you do after you have made Rise of Unicron, right? Like, I don't think there's any more stories to tell, right? Like, unless the Transformers go off somewhere on Earth and they're on their own, right? Because, I like it in, especially like Rise of the Beast, as much as I don't like that film, I like how their presence is, not being detected, right? Because again, it's not really breaking the canon of the franchise. But what I think I think this is like kind of like a big deal breaker. Like, I think what they really break of canon, and they need to fix this. Michael Bay needs to fix this. Like, he needs to retcon this. So in the last night, Anthony Hopkins' character said, like, Bumblebee has been around. Again, this is the second time I watched it, so I really don't care about that film. But, like, I think Bumblebee has been around since the 40s, right? And he's took down the bad guys, right? I don't really think I could say that name because I don't want YouTube to, like, flag me down. Like, when you mention 40s, you gotta be careful how you say stuff like that on YouTube, right? So we're gonna leave it at that. And Rise of the Beasts, no, we have to go back to the Bumblebee movie, right? Because, yeah, I don't want to forget this, right? Like, just give me a second to process this, guys. At the beginning of Bumblebee, we see, like, the battle between, like, Autobots versus Decepticons, right? And then Bumblebee goes to Earth in the 80s, right? So, yeah, but again, I think Rise of the Beast broke more of the continuity because, like, I get you're doing a fresh take on the franchise, but, like, you need to keep everything in the canon status, Michael Bay. Like, because in the last night you say, like, oh, Bumblebee has been around since the 40s, but then his first arrival on Earth was in the 80s. Like, how can you explain that in canon? Like, oh, the Transformers, they went back to their planet again. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name. But, like, Bumblebee comes back 40 years later into the timeline. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, again, Michael Bay, you really broke the continuity there, and you need to properly explain, like, how long the Transformers have been around. Oh my gosh. The lore is so funny when they go back to, like, oh, quote unquote, millions of years. Like, oh, the Transformers have been on Earth, and apparently, like, they weren't created by the cube, right? Like, I don't know. The lore is pretty ridiculous, right? Like, you guys know, I'm only following the movie lore, but again, like, the movie lore has, like, pretty ridiculous, like, plot lines and backstories and all that, and that's why I don't take it seriously, right? Like, yeah, I don't believe in that millions of years old crap. Like, why would you bring Scientology into Transformers. Like, I thought this was a franchise about Autobots versus Decepticons, few humans in between, right? Like, that's what I don't like, you know? Like, jeez. Stop bringing evolution into this, please. That's the thing, though, with the Cube. Ever since the first Transformers movie, like, as far as I'm aware, again, I don't follow any other Transformers lore, they mentioned the Cube, right? And the Cube gave them life, quote unquote, even though that's not the case, right? Like, which franchise started that first, the name The Cube? Like, was it Marvel or was it Transformers? Because, again, in the Marvel movies, the Cube, also known as the Tesseract, is the Space Stone, you know? Like, so who's really in the right and who's really in the wrong with this, right? So I apologize, guys, if I took long with the breaking down the canon status of like what was explained in the last night and what Bumblebee and Rise of the Beast presented, right? Like, yeah, I don't like the idea of like animal Transformers. I know they have another name, but just like, I don't care. I really don't care, you know? We need a Transformers prequel film that could act like Days of Future Past. I don't think in the Transformers universe, as far as I'm aware, like they could travel back through time. Like, I think that would be complicated, right? Because would you even send a Transformer back in time to change everything? Like, again, I probably send, like, you know, Shia LaBeouf's character back in time to fix a lot of the errors, you know, like, again, this is where Bumblebee and Rise of the Beasts take place, like, they act as, like, you know, like, the prequels of the X-Men franchise, right? Like, you know, Bumblebee is a soft reboot, right? For sure. I don't know, it's just the continuity of these movies really piss me off to my core, and that is not funny. I'm sure it pisses you guys a lot too. Like Michael Bay, what in the frick are you doing, man? Like, I know you're not a good storyteller, let's be honest here, because, you know, obviously Zack Snyder is a better storyteller and director than you, so like that's saying something. So you need to step up your game, man, you know? Like, you know, if you want to be big in Hollywood again, in general, like, just, you gotta make better stories, man. And Bumblebee was definitely a good start. Just the other night on my Instagram, I don't know if you guys follow me, but, like, on my story, I did put down, like, my 5 favorite, Transformers movies. So it's definitely the original Transformers, Dark on the Moon, Age of Extinction, yes, I like that one, Bumblebee, and Transformers 1. Transformers 1 was like the perfect, and I mean the perfect prequel film to come out, right? Like, and I like how it doesn't break canon, right? Because, like, yeah, some franchises, guys, like, there will be, like, different takes, like, different adaptations of any kind of lore. Like, again, you got Star Wars, right? There's live action and animation, and it works together in continuity. You got Marvel Studios. You got mostly live action, and gonna be honest, some failed new animations that are canon / not canon to the lore, but like, hey, it works, right? I know Disney wants to work on more animated Marvel films. I hate that they keep calling, like, Big Hero 6 or any other Disney film like that in the animations Pixar. Like, it's not Pixar. Like, it's a continuation of Disney animation. If it was Pixar, the Pixar brand will be on there. But, like, I could definitely see this working for Marvel Studios, right? Like, stories that have not been shown on film, and, like, whatever scrapped ideas they got, like, they could put, like, between the films, right? Like, that would be so cool. Like, Marvel Pixar films, like, I mean, they would have to be PG-13, guys, right? I know with Big Hero 6, like, obviously it's a Marvel property, like, they prove, like, you can show a Marvel movie in a PG setting. Same with, Rise of the Silver Surfer, that was PG. Well, like, Pixar, if you're ready to step up your game to make, adult like Pixar movies, then do it. I think doing it like with Marvel should be like the biggest step up. Like I could see it happening. Nothing wrong with like up and coming PG-13 animated stuff. Just like how Illumination is going to be doing R-rated animated stuff. I can't wait for that. I wonder what ideas they got in the pipeline, right? Yeah, it's just, again, this was very unintentional. Like when it came to like, again, like I said the last night, like I really did felt like I was watching like X-Men, or like I got the feels of X-Men. Like, oh man, this feels familiar, right? Like that was the first time a franchise has made me feel like that of another franchise. Just because like if you've been watching movies for so long, and like if you watch another franchise and it hits you like that, like oh man. Still, I can't wait for the Transformers and G.I. Joe crossover when that happens. Like, maybe that'll be the next prequel film. Who knows? Again, you guys can fill me in with the lore, because, like I said, I am not good at this stuff. Like with Transformers, right? Because like I only remember what I know from the movies, right? Like I only go by movie lore. Like that's it. Like yeah, so you guys are going to have to help me out with that. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think of my take on the comparisons between the X-Men movies and the Transformers movies, right? Like, again, I think they're similar, not talk about story-wise, just talk about, like, franchise-wise, right? Like, I'm just kind of realizing this now. How earlier I said maybe they need to make a Transformers movie that's kind of like X-Men Origins Wolverine? Well, maybe Transformers 1 is like that. Just think about it, different takes on the characters, but they got like the lore like correct in there. They did not dumb it down for the kids. Like, again, adults can watch it. Like, I don't know. I want to hear your guys' takes on both franchises. Yeah. That's pretty much what I have to say here. Yeah, it's just I'm happy I got this off my chest. Like I know I'm not the only one who thinks this. Again, there was another guy who talked about Transformers. I don't know. I don't remember which video, but like he said he had those feels of like it was like X-Men. Like man, the correlations with that, like it's such a coincidence, right? Like geez, who would have thunk that, huh? Alright guys, you know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Please on the post notification bell, share my content if you haven't already. And again, let me know in the comments below, what are some other good podcast episodes like you want me to talk about, right? Like, it could be anything, like, help keep this podcast going, like, I like talking about stuff like this, like, again, just stuff in general, so just let me know. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks, bye, and remember, Autobots, roll out. Alright, good night, guys.